Have you ever heard of a muscle car that was more powerful than a Corvette, but disappeared without a trace? Or a wagon that was once an icon of the entire United States, now reduced to a few rusting models in a barn? In the history of the American automotive industry, there are many cars created with ambition, powerful, unique, and sometimes ahead of their time. But due to the market, regulations, or simply because no one understood their true value, these cars gradually faded into obscurity. Today, we'll take a look back at 10 American cars with great potential that vanished without a trace. The ghosts of the highways, and why they deserve to be remembered. Let's get started. Number 1. 1974 Buick Apollo GSX. When people think of Buick, muscle car usually isn't the first thing that comes to mind. But in 1974, Buick did something bold. They took their compact Apollo and gave it some real attitude, creating the rare and almost forgotten Apollo GSX. This wasn't just a trim package. The Apollo GSX came with a 350 cubic inch V8, a heavy-duty suspension, performance upgrades, and a sportier stance that aimed to bring Buick into the performance arena. It was smaller and lighter than the Skylark GS, making it a sleeper with real potential. But timing was everything, and the Apollo GSX hit the market just as the muscle car era was falling apart. Rising gas prices, stricter emissions laws, and a shift in consumer taste meant almost nobody was looking for a compact Buick with muscle. Production was low, interest even lower. Today, surviving Apollo GSX models are practically unicorns. It's the kind of car that proves, sometimes, being ahead of your time means getting left behind. Number 2. 1965 Pontiac 2+2. When people talk about Pontiac's muscle cars, the GTO usually takes center stage. But what if I told you there was another Pontiac from the same era, bigger, bolder, and packing the same kind of firepower, that barely anyone remembers? Enter the 1965 Pontiac 2+2, the full-size cousin to the legendary GTO. Under the hood, you could get a massive 421 cubic inch V8, pumping out up to 376 horsepower, depending on the setup. It had all the makings of a true muscle car: raw power, throaty exhaust, and impressive straight-line speed. But here's the problem. It was just too big. In the mid-60s, muscle cars were all about being small, quick, and nimble. The 2+2, despite its muscle, carried a full-size body that made it feel more like a cruiser than a street racer. As the GTO soared in popularity, the 2+2 quietly faded into obscurity. Today, finding one is rare. It's the big block GTO that never got its moment in the spotlight. Number 3. 1957 DeSoto Adventurer. Before the term muscle car even existed, there was the 1957 DeSoto Adventurer, a luxury coupe with the heart of a beast. This wasn't your average chrome-laden 50s cruiser. The Adventurer came equipped with a 345 cubic inch Mi-V8 and dual 4-barrel carburetors, cranking out 345 horsepower, a figure that outgunned the Corvette and Thunderbird of the same year. That's no typo. In 1957, this thing was a rocket in gold trim. It wasn't just about speed either. The Adventurer had serious presence: gold anodized accents, sleek two-door styling, and upscale interior touches like push-button TorqueFlite transmission and plush leather seats. But timing was its worst enemy. By the late 50s, the DeSoto brand was on life support. Chrysler pulled the plug in 1961, and the Adventurer, despite its performance pedigree, vanished with it. Few were preserved, and many had their Hemis ripped out for hot rods. Today, an original '57 Adventurer in good shape is practically automotive folklore. Number 4. 1968 AMC Ambassador SST. If there was ever a car that could flex its muscles while wearing a suit, it was the 1968 AMC Ambassador SST. AMC might have been the underdog among Detroit's Big Three, but they knew how to build a sleeper. The SST looked like a respectable full-size luxury car. Clean lines, hidden headlights, a refined interior. But underneath, you could option it with a 343 cubic inch V8 or the top-tier 390 V8, giving it serious performance credentials. With around 280 horsepower stock and loads of low-end torque, it could surprise even die-hard muscle car fans. In fact, some police departments ran Ambassador Interceptors with the 390 V8. These cars were legit highway hunters. But here's the catch. It never had the flash or fame of a Charger or Chevelle. Most people just saw it as a big family car. As a result, few were preserved and most ended up scrapped or rusting away. Today, the Ambassador SST is a forgotten muscle car in disguise. Classy on the outside, brutal underneath. Number 5. 1970 Chevrolet Kingswood Estate Wagon. Think muscle cars only came in coupes? Think again. The 1970 Chevrolet Kingswood Estate Wagon was a full-blown family hauler with some serious attitude under the hood. This wasn't just a grocery getter. Our family's Kingswood came equipped with a 400 cubic inch V8. And let me tell you, when my dad floored it on the highway, that big wagon moved. Sure, it weighed as much as a small bus, but it had torque for days and could surprise more than a few drivers at stoplights. Inside, it was pure Americana. Wood grain panels, jump seats in the back, and enough room for an entire baseball team. It wasn't flashy, but it was comfortable, rugged, and quietly powerful. But as the 70s wore on and fuel prices soared, these massive wagons became relics. Most were traded in, scrapped, or rusted out. Today, a clean Kingswood is rare, and seeing one on the road feels like spotting a dinosaur. It's the muscle car the suburbs tried to forget, but those who remember never will. Number 6. 1964 Studebaker Daytona. The Studebaker Daytona might be one of the best muscle cars you've never heard of. And that's because it came from a brand that was on its last legs. By the early 60s, Studebaker was fighting to stay alive. But they didn't go down quietly. The Daytona was their final shot at relevance, a sleek, performance-focused coupe that could be optioned with a supercharged 289 V8, pushing it into muscle car territory. On paper, it could go toe-to-toe with early Mustangs and even outperform some V8 rivals in straight-line speed. It was lightweight, quick, and surprisingly nimble for a mid-sized car. But timing killed it. Studebaker was collapsing financially, with factory closures and shrinking dealer networks. That meant almost zero marketing, poor public awareness, and limited production. The Daytona never got the attention or the second chance it deserved. Today, finding one is like discovering buried treasure. The Daytona isn't just rare. It's a symbol of what could have been if Studebaker had just held on a little longer. Number 7. 1969 Dodge Polara 500 convertible. When you think of late 60s Dodge muscle, names like Charger and Super Bee come to mind. But lurking in the shadows was the 1969 Dodge Polara 500 convertible, a massive drop-top sleeper with serious muscle under the hood. Don't let the luxury vibe fool you. This thing could be optioned with a 440 Magnum V8, delivering brutal acceleration and a throaty exhaust note that rivaled its more famous siblings. It wasn't a track star, but it didn't need to be. This was a highway missile, built for long roads and open skies. The Polara 500 straddled a strange line. Too big for the muscle crowd, too sporty for the luxury market. It was an oddball, and because of that, it never found a real audience. Most were daily driven, beat up, and eventually scrapped. Today, a clean Polara 500 convertible is nearly impossible to find, but if you ever get to drive one, you'll understand. It's the muscle car that wore a tux and never asked for attention. Number 8. 1955. Hudson Hornet V8. Before the Mustangs and Camaros ruled the streets, the Hudson Hornet was dominating the tracks, especially in NASCAR. But by 1955, the iconic Hornet was on life support, and this version, equipped with a V8, marked the end of an era. The original Hornet was famous for its step-down design, low center of gravity, and killer handling. It crushed the early 50s racing scene with its straight six. But as the muscle car wars began heating up, Hudson knew it had to evolve, and the V8 was its final Hail Mary. The 1955 Hornet 5.8 packed decent power, around 190 horsepower, and modernized styling. But Hudson's days were numbered. The company was struggling, and that year, it was absorbed into AMC. Marketing disappeared, support dried up, and the Hornet name, once feared on the track, faded into obscurity. Most 55 Hornets didn't survive. They were traded, scrapped, or forgotten. Today, the V8 Hornet stands as the last roar of a fallen champion, a car that deserved more, but arrived just a little too late. Number 9. 1971. Ford LTD convertible. Back in the early 70s, if you wanted to cruise in style with the top down and plenty of space to stretch out, the 1971 Ford LTD convertible was your ride. This was full-size American luxury at its peak. V8 power, flowing body lines, and an interior roomy like a rolling living room. The LTD convertible offered a smooth, confident ride and the kind of relaxed driving experience you just don't find anymore. But the tides were turning fast. Gas prices were rising, emission regulations were tightening, and buyers were moving toward smaller, more efficient cars. By 1972, Ford pulled the plug on its full-size convertible lineup. And just like that, the big American drop-top era was over. Few people preserved these cars. They weren't seen as collectible, and most ended up weathered by time or left to rust away. Today, spotting a clean LTD convertible is like stepping into a time machine. A reminder of when freedom meant a V8 engine and no roof overhead. Number 10. 1967. AMC Rebel SST. In 1967, the muscle car market was booming. Mustangs, Camaros, GTOs, everyone wanted a piece of the action. And then came AMC, the perennial underdog, with their own contender, the Rebel SST. At first glance, the Rebel SST looked like a respectable mid-size family car. But beneath that modest exterior was a 343 cubic inch V8, producing 280 horsepower, more than enough to hold its own in street races. It had clean styling, a well-balanced chassis, and even came with sporty touches like bucket seats and body stripes. But AMC just didn't have the marketing firepower to make it a star. While the Big Three plastered ads everywhere, the Rebel SST quietly existed in the background. And as the muscle car craze faded in the early 70s, so did AMC's sleeper. Most Rebel SSTs were driven into the ground, rarely preserved, and quickly forgotten. Today, spotting one is a rare treat. It's the muscle car for those who didn't want to follow the crowd. A true rebel, in every sense of the word. I feel truly sorry for those machines built with ambition, power, and a touch of rebellion. But for some reason, the wrong timing, poor marketing strategy, or simply being too different, these cars never received the attention they deserved. From the muscular Buick Apollo GSX to the full-size beauty of the Ford LTD convertible, each of these forgotten legendary cars tells a story of a moment in American automotive history that almost disappeared. So, the big question is, if you could, which car would you bring back? Leave your answer in the comments. We'd love to know your choice. And if you enjoyed this journey through the hidden corners of automotive history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon. We have many more exciting stories to share, because sometimes the greatest cars are the ones that people have forgotten. See you next time.